Welcome to the Lone Machinist Podcast, a podcast where it's just you, your tools, and the work. No team, no backup. I'm Jamie from JSpec Engineering, and every episode we're tackling the highs and lows of flying solo in the machining world.
And I'm Curt from Confounded Machine, here to chat about everything it takes to make it as a one-man show in the shop. From grinding and turning to the struggles of running a one-person operation, we're sharing the stories, the tricks, and the challenges that come with going it alone.
If you're out there in the shop grinding away by yourself, or just thinking about taking a solo plunge, this show's for you.
So throw in your ear protection and let's talk about life behind the machine.
How's it, Kurt? How are you doing today?
Good, Jamie. How are you doing this evening?
Good. Sounds like from the video, it looked like you needed ear protection. I turned the volume on the intro up a little bit.
I had your volume jacked when we were just chatting before the show, and then as soon as it started, I was like, "Whoops, I've made a grave error."
Yeah, it was a little bit violent, but I noticed on the last episode the intro was just a little bit quieter than our talking, so I thought I should just address that.
Well, they can. People will let us know if it's too loud or too quiet. And there's nothing we can do at this point. So
yeah. Well, I mean, the last episode didn't get any complaints about the audio volume. I just noticed the intro was a little bit quiet.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, what did you get up to last week?
Oh, last week was just mainly a production week. I didn't have a ton of massive fun improvements. The one thing, the crowning jewel that kind of crushes everything else, is I finally have the fourth axis working on the Sile. So that just takes so much stress and whatever off my brain. I can just stop thinking about that. It's just so happy that is finally done.
The thing looks super fast. I saw your Instagram reel of that.
It's way quick. Like, and that was just a jogging. Like, it goes about 4 times as fast as that during a rapid, which is amazing. Like, I haven't had a fourth that ran that quickly, which is going to be nice for a lot of positional stuff. But yeah, I'm just, I don't want to say I lost it on my Canadian distributor, but I got a quote from Siemens to come out to fix it directly, because I'm like, I can't wait any longer. And the quote was in like the 5-digit price range, because they have to travel essentially across my country to get here. And yeah, so that was basically a non-starter, but I just wanted to let my distributor know, like, hey, we got to get going on this. And anyways, they put me in contact with Sile directly, and I just stayed up one night just so I could hit their, working day, because there's such a big time difference, and just stayed up all night talking with one of their tech guys who was fantastic. And we just chunked through it. Ended up being a old PLC that was loaded in this machine that just didn't have the right settings across. And as soon as we dropped the new PLC, I just reflashed the PLC on the Siemens control, and then everything came to life. So yeah, it was nice fix.
Okay, so it just didn't have the actual stuff configured, like the brake and some of the other back-end stuff that you're not actually meant to be fondling.
Correct. And the funny thing is that, like, it was also missing, like, I always noticed on spindle change or on tool changes, there's an air purge that comes through most of these spindle tapers. And it wasn't very good. Like, I was like, I think it's air purging. And I just noticed as soon as I updated the PLC, then I had a full air purge. So I'm like, so I wonder if they because this is one of the first Siemens X5 in Canada, and it's one of the first Siemens X5s in general. I know they just kind of recently started plugging them in. So I think they probably had loaded in like a manufacturing PLC just to kind of test everything over. And then with the assumption of, loading the correct PLC when it was ready to ship. That's all I can think about. That's the reason I assume that it was missed. And they acknowledged that it was, their fault, and they're definitely remedying it. So that's good. Otherwise, I wouldn't be too happy. But they're treating me really well for all the kind of troubles they've caused me. So I can't complain too much.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing what you're going to put on there, because it's going to be significantly faster than the other machine than your Curt.
Yeah, the Curt is it's still doing all the fourth axis work, but that's all it's doing right now. So I'm so jazzed to have something that just can move a lot faster, and not as tedious. So.
Well, speaking of Siemens controllers, my optocoupler came in, so now I have a JSI unit inside my control cabinets instead of an HSI unit. It's a Jamie signal interface. But yeah, got that integrated, got that working. The tool setter repeats astonishingly well, even though I've been inside it and modified it. But that's now all properly set up and repeating. I was running stuff this evening, and yeah, it takes a while. I'm lazy. I just go to auto tool length set. I set the rough gauge length probe, let it come down slowly, type in the next number, let it come down slowly. I can jog it over the thing, but it's just not worth the effort. I just type the number and hit go. Once it's
Mhm.
touched off, it's stored in memory. It's tagged. Yeah. So I was setting up. I don't think I'd run my M5 thread mill. Hadn't run my 4.2 drill. Like I just had a touch of a bunch of tools over the last couple of days. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's now properly interfaced and it beeps. I made a beep so that
Nice.
I know the probe is being triggered. And I know, like, if I boot the machine up in the probe and the thing's going beep because something's not happy, it at least
Mm.
lets me diagnose it before I ram a tool into it.
Do you have to do? Are you still doing like multiple touches, or is it now repeatable enough that you can just do a single touch?
Uh, I'm doing double. I'm still double touching just to make sure it's repeatable, but
Okay.
it's within like 2/10, so like
Okay.
5 microns. So it's well within. I mean, I used to touch my tools off to 10 microns. I'd switch to the 10 micron increments. If I was doing something that I really cared about heights between different things, then I would go to 1 micron steps. But
Mm,
otherwise, 10 microns, and when it beeped, I was happy. So
beautiful.
it's more accurate than it was. I've noticed. So the first touch, it changes because that's the value I typed in, not the actual measured value. And if I measure again, I think the worst I've seen is about 50 microns, and that was on some weird combination. I think it was spinning the tool because it was a big diameter or something. And then there was a
Mm.
little bit of variation. And that was on from first attempt, then second attempt, and third attempt was the same as the second, within like 2
Oh.
microns. So
Oh yeah, that's
for
plenty.
the work I do, more than accurate enough.
Yeah,
So yeah,
that's
that's
awesome.
all integrated as well. But
That's nice. That's such a that's such a luxury to have that.
oh, it
Just
is.
like
The thing is, the Slowio had it. So I wrote a macro for the Slowio that you just jog your current tool. So you call the tool 21. So I'd call tool 21. I would jog it above my tool setter, M300, hit enter, and whatever tool was loaded, it would measure the length and write that to the tool offset table.
mm-hmm.
So the Slowio, like if ever I set up, because it's a homemade machine, if I ever changed a tool, I then touch off everything I was running. So they all touched off in relation to each other,
Mm-hmm.
not in relation to the home switch day to day. So, like, then if they all touched off to each other, if I go and probe the job, they're all in relation to each other, not relation to the home switch kind of story. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that makes
that
sense.
M300 macro I wrote was, yeah, it's lovely. It's still there. I
Mhm.
used it the other day. I had something that needed a whole two tools on the Slowio. It was very tedious because I had to manually change tools. I'm a little bit spoiled now.
Oh, absolutely. I know I'm spoiled for the tool changer, and the one thing I'm massively spoiled for is like absolute encoders that repeat perfectly, like
Yeah,
offsets,
exactly.
all function. Like I had multiple offsets on my little Grizzly here,
Yeah,
but every time I change it, I would still probe it in because I'm like it would vary by a couple thou. Whereas like this machine, if I change my offset and go and probe it just for fun, it's like it's a
it's
tenth out
exactly.
or
Yeah.
dead on. It's like it's like it's such a
No,
so nice just to
even
switch jobs.
even tool length. Tool length day to day is exactly the
Mhm.
same. Like it's nuts. Like industrial machines are just a different beast. Like I've had G57 set in my machine for months. It's where the pallet system is. It's the location on the pallet system. And I throw a pallet and I hit go. I don't even think about it. It repeats exactly because it's homing on the absolute. And if you lose absolute, it's homing on the index pulse within a certain range. Like it repeats exactly. It repeats within the tolerance of the ball screws.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like it's
is is yours epoxy granite as well?
no, mine's cast
The
iron.
frame? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
cast
I didn't
iron.
know
Yeah,
if it was epoxy
yeah,
or cast.
yeah. A couple of tons of cost.
Nice.
No, that's the LKs. I think they're all their machines are cast iron still. Like epoxy
Mm,
granites, very fancy stuff.
yeah, it's nice. I just
Yeah,
noticed there's like zero thermal growth from like the end of the day to the start of the day. At least for my
yeah,
style of work, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm dead nuts on. So I'm pleased. I mean,
yeah. It
I'm coming from
also,
a machine that warmed up and like drifted 5 thou, so it's
yeah,
pretty easy
no,
to
hundred
impress me.
percent. Yeah, no. I mean the LK. Um, I need to pull all the tools and clean the taper because I noticed the one end mill's cutting like 10 microns bigger than it was previously. It could be run out in the end mill, but it's across two end mills, so I think it is. I
Mm.
think it is something in the taper. So I'll just clean. I did clean the taper the other day, but I think I need to pull all the tools, just clean all the actual tool holders, clean the taper, and then it'll be back to dead nuts because I'm busy setting up for that camera housing job.
Hmm. Now we're gonna
Yeah, I
machine
had
away 80 kilos of aluminum.
I had 150 kilograms of aluminium arrive on Friday, and that's
Nice.
going out the door as 100 kilograms of shavings. It's going to be
That's
great
so
fun.
cool.
Yeah. Now, I actually went through the programs today and just made sure everything was up to date because I did some stupid stuff when I programmed it last time where I modified my stock. So it had a cutout in the middle so that it wouldn't try and adapt to that. But
Mm.
I copied it and then they were still linked. So I just exported it, filled the hole up, and imported it again as a new body or a new component. And then I just had to go and reassociate that component as the modeled stock. So I went through all
Mm.
of that today. Um, on the plates where I remove all the material, the 4 plates, I can basically op one all, how many is it now? It's all 12 plates. I can op one them in one day in about
Oh,
six,
nice.
7 hours. So my plan is to, well, tomorrow we're going to friends, so that's kind of a write off. But then Monday, set up, do all the op zeros on all the material, all the big material, put my fixture back in the machine, get that all indicated in, and then just Monday afternoon start going, and then probably Tuesday evening run late because I've got to go to site on Tuesday. So that day is basically going down the toilet. So when I get back, then I'm going to need to catch up a few hours, and then I'll let that run. I mean, the one part's got nearly 4 hours of machine time in it.
Oh wow. Is your
Yeah.
is the op one on, like, are they 2 op parts or 3 op
So there's an
parts or
op zero.
right? Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Your
there's an
stock
op
prep
zero
whatever.
that just puts in some dowel holes and some clamping features.
Mhm.
Then there's an op one where I rough out, so I face it, rough out the one side, do all the finishing from that side, like chamfer the back sides of the holes and things. Then it gets flipped over in the fixture. There's an op two, and then on some of them there's a 3, 4, and 5 where I've got to have them on end to put a hole on the sides. But
Mm.
when it was being designed, we put in features that I can easily. So I've got a vertical plate with a little notch on it, and these parts just drop onto the notch and locate in
Oh,
all three
nice.
axes. So then it makes it super quick. Now, a lot of effort went into this between Roger and myself to make it as easy to manufacture as possible.
Nice. And is your op one like
Yeah.
taking care of the bulk of the like material removal? Like, is that where you're
It
seeing
takes
most of your
every
time sucked up?
well, the roughing the whole center out takes 6 minutes. It's not a large portion.
I,
There's
I suppose,
stupid
yeah.
tapers and yeah, no, there's funny tapers in places that eats up like 40 minutes on surfacing, and then there's
Okay.
slots that are 4 millimeters wide and like 16 millimeters deep. So that eats another 20 or 30 minutes of cycle time just slotting into the
Yeah.
part. So that I think the average op one time is about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and then op twos are also 40, 45 minutes. But then op
Hmm.
two, I turn it around, rough the perimeter of the part, bolt it down, and then take the bolts and dowel pins out and just evaporate the corners off. And then
Hmm.
it's all just like 15,000 finishing passes and chamfers and all these little friggin' things. Because the parts are well designed, but there's funny tapers and like the whole front of it is just surface everything. The one
Hmm.
the one ring literally takes me 4 hours. It's 2 hours on op one and 2 or 3 hours on op two, I think. It's silly.
Hmm.
But
Well,
that's
at
because
least
I have
that's
to go
enough
in
time
with.
to, yeah.
Well, I'm gonna plan for that to run in the evening. So I'll run one in the morning, run another one, and then leave the last one to run at night. The machine can turn itself off when it's done
That's
because
nice.
it can do that.
That's cool.
It was
Yeah.
a little bit tricky to turn it on this morning because I did that yesterday or the day before. I enabled auto shut off on auto shutdown on Home Assistant, and then I enabled APO on the machine. But when it does
Hmm.
auto power off with the APO function, it actually turns the breaker on the back. But I had the breaker, I didn't have the door, I had the panel open, and then I had the machine on, so I just pushed the door closed, and it wasn't actually properly in the switch. So I had to like vickle the switch this morning to just get it to a line so I could turn the power back on.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's sorted now.
That's cool. That's something I want to
Yeah.
implement. Like, I want to be able to do something where it shuts down the machine at, yeah, the breaker level, but then also shuts down the like my phase converter. That would be nice because it could run all night, but like I don't need to put
No, that
hours
thing
on it for
eats
no reason.
electricity. It
It
pulls
does
mine.
mine.
Oh, it doesn't, Jaws. Mine pulls one
No,
kilowatt. if it's idling.
Yeah, mine's digital, so it's 70 watts
Oh,
when it's
okay, yeah.
idle. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
no,
it's harder
mine's
to
like a
shut down that
bronze.
way. So
Yeah, mine. Yeah, yeah. You can surely it's just a button push to turn it off.
I mean, probably. Yeah, probably. I'd have to interface with it. I know there's a way to do it internally. I just flip it on with the
So
giant switch. So,
Home Assistant, you can with ESP Home, you can run servos.
oh, it's not. Yeah, I don't need any more help with this Home Assistant because I'm just gonna like financially ruin myself. I want to switch over all my lights now to Zigbee because I'm sick
No,
of
no, don't go to
Wi-Fi.
Zigbee. No,
Why?
the ESP ESP32 boards, the cheapest chips. Put a relay module on it. That's it. Done.
Oh, how do they communicate? I thought that was the same.
That's over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth.
Oh, I don't like. I've never found just stability in Wi-Fi though.
I have had no issues. Like I've
Really?
got, so I put a mesh network in that handles all my Home Assistant stuff. It's all on its own
Hmm.
network. My main internet connection gets plugged into the mesh network, and then everything on the mesh has net internet. And my workshop, the machine's on a separate network, but everything's on the mesh. And I've got wireless cameras, Wi-Fi cameras. I've got a bunch of Home Assistant of ESP Home stuff going, and I've got a switch for my swimming pool, and that's all on
Hmm.
Wi-Fi, and it's pretty friggin' stable.
Hmm.
Like even my
I've had
lamp
nothing
in
but
my
poor luck.
lounge, is running an ESP-C3 with a solid state relay. That in a little box. That's it. That switches my lamp on and off for me. So it turns on in the evening, turns off at a set time, or we can turn it on manually from our phones.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No,
I was
it's
messing around.
pretty reliable. Yeah.
I have like everything. Like I have all the lighting in my house, interior and exterior on switch, like on Wi-Fi switches, and I just find the
But you
connection. Like
can.
every few weeks, one drops, and I'm like, oh, and then it comes back in a few days, and I was like, I have a mesh network too, but I should probably get a more robust mesh network.
So you can also probably tie those into Home Assistant because literally everything ties into Home Assistant.
I can't. None of them are
Oh,
supported because they're all like
no,
dirt cheap. So
oh,
yeah,
okay, yeah. No, my neighbor ran
yeah,
into a similar problem
yeah.
with some of his
Yeah, I didn't
stuff.
realize because they were like regular, I don't know, $40, and I got them for like $4 each. So I'm like, oh, I'll buy a
Okay,
gang of them, and yeah, I understand why now because they don't interface with anything. So
yeah. So
yeah, they might go
the
away.
workshop's got 4 light circuits running through Home Assistant, which are not tied to my lights yet, but it's done specifically so my lights can turn on Iron Man style from one side to the other side. Like
Yeah.
stupid shit that I've done. But I've got that board. I'll send you one of those boards that I had done. I had 5 of them done. I'm just waiting for the SMD components to come in. That you've got 6 opto-isolated inputs that I think all their grounds are also isolated. So it's
Hmm.
ground and signal, not connected to anything else. And
Proper.
then it's designed to be powered over just a old cell phone charger. Just plug into the ESP-C3, and that will get you your power you need. And then it's got 2 relay outputs. So if you want to control lights or something, you can do that as well.
Yeah, my electronic pusher man here, but I appreciate it. I will definitely make use of it.
My neighbor has tried for years to get me to go to Home Assistant, literal years, and I finally switched over to it like a year ago, and now everything's on it. Like it's great. But I just
Yeah.
pick up my phone. I'm like, "Hey, bro, come have a beer." He pulls in and then he writes all the code for me because I'm lazy.
Nice.
Like I brute forced the stuff that's on the LK now, but yeah, that's. I mean, I've got ultrasonic sensor measuring my coolant level,
Mm,
which I still need to actually calibrate. I know roughly what it should be. I need to, when I drain the tank to, before I start this job, I'm going to pay attention to the levels on my phone when I fill it up and then say, okay, cool, this is low, this is high. Send me a warning at this level and automate that as well.
yeah, automation is life. I
Yeah.
love it
No,
all.
I mean, on the LK, I go in through that door in the morning. If I go in through the door, there's a button I can press that'll turn the lights on from the back of the LK, like that I don't have to walk through or pull my phone out. I just hold the button and then I get a notification to say that the lights are turning on and then all the lights turn on and my clock and everything else.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
the
it's the
nerd
way.
things. It is.
It's so fun. It's fun to just walk around your house and just have it like living around you. Like my uncle
Yeah.
always said, he's like, my goal is to be able to die and no one will notice because like my lawn will be watered, all my lights will be turning on and off. Like
Well,
it's like, yeah, I see
my
that.
my neighbor just put the AI hat on his home assistant to help with object recognition on his camera system. He was running
Oh,
at like 1 FPS. He's now running at 15 FPS. Object
wow.
detecting, like my dog goes over there, it recognizes a dog, recognizes me. He gets notifications. He changed the sensor on his gate. It used to just be an infrared beam to say something's in the way of the gate. Swaps it for a human detecting board that literally says there are 4 people standing in your driveway.
Slick.
Like silly stuff. And he gets notifications because I've got a remote for his gate. So I just open his gate and I go there. And then he gets a notification to say that I'm in his yard.
Yeah, that's what I need. Like I don't have a window on the garage, which is another
Yeah.
story. I would like to do that, but same thing. I get deliveries, and I can't hear them go to the door of the house.
Yeah.
So I have a camera, but the delay, like by the time I'll get a notification, and it can detect like delivery truck,
Yes.
people, all that jazz. But the delay is like maybe 10 seconds from when the person is there, and then by that time they're like halfway to the door, and like most of our mail services will like knock once and be like, "You're not home," and just like peace out. So it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, I need something a little faster. Like a window would actually solve my problems, but why do a window when you can, complicate it horribly with a bunch of electronics and
Well,
back end
that's what,
automation?
yeah. I've got my original FPV screen from like
Okay.
2012. I gave it to my mate. He was out here from the UK and he was going through the stuff that was still here. He's like, "Hey, do you want this?" I'm like, "Yeah, bring it. I'll use it for something. I want to put an old FPV camera pointing at my gate and that can be in my office. That it's a live feed and I can see the gate without having to walk around the corner." Because often
Yeah, I know.
I'm working and then I hear a hoot or I hear something and I just want to see what's going on without having to stop doing what I'm doing.
No, I totally get. I know. I've debated just putting like LCD screens on my garage door and then cameras on the opposite side, so I have like digital windows. But I'm like, I'm
Yes.
gonna go through that much effort. Like, let's cut a real window so I can get real light and feel like a real human, as opposed to just bathed
Um,
in OLEDs.
there's a YouTube channel. What's it called? Make Stuff, I think.
Okay.
It's one of the guys from the Making It podcast, David Picciuto, and he's got 3 TVs on his wall that he puts different backgrounds on, so it looks like a
Nice.
window. He literally built a window frame around it, and it's so that he can set dress easily. It's like where he
Yeah,
does
yeah.
most of his shooting, and then if he's busy working, he'll put a movie up on there or something as background noise. I was like, yeah, that seems like an expensive solution.
Yeah.
As it is, yeah, I missed the deal on some really nice monitors a little while ago. I think
Oh
I
yeah.
mentioned them to you, the 27-inch HP monitors with built-in webcams and stuff. I
Yeah.
left it. I was like, let me sleep on it, and now they sold out.
Yeah. That's
They were
how
refurbs,
it
so
works.
yeah, but it's obviously not meant to be.
I know I missed that same kind of deal on. I was looking for collet chucks for the big manual lathe, and I came across a nice Bison 5C with like the
Ooh,
complete line of 5C. I think it was
yeah,
all Imperial, but still, like 50, 60 collets, and then all
yeah.
the square as well.
Oh wow,
So it's like, ooh, and it was like, I don't know, it was like $600 US or something like that. It wasn't one of the set trues; it was just like the um. But anyways, I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, I'll think on it tonight, and then if it's still here tomorrow, I'll pull a plug and oh yeah, it immediately went. I was like, whoopsie daisy,
yeah.
but
That's
live and
a
learn.
flipping killer deal.
It was such a good deal. Yeah, I should have
Yeah,
jumped
no,
on it,
that
but
yeah, you live and you learn. So I see you got a quote on a Tumblr.
yeah, just a little update for the folks that are following along. So I did get a quote for that Avalon tumbler. So shipped into Canada, which is probably no Canadians listening to this. Is about $500 in freight. So all told, that's going to cost me $3,500 US. So yeah, I'm going to sit on that for a bit because I don't really need it right now. And actually, someone reached out to me and said, "Why don't you get one of your friends that have the similar model to tumble you some parts?" I'm like, that's big brain thinking right there. So I
Yeah,
might reach out to a couple guys I have and be like, "Hey, you want to tumble some parts for me? I'll trade you some shekels or product or whatever you like,"
yeah,
and just kind of see what because maybe it's not big enough, and I just all the parts whack into each other, and then I'm kind of hosed. So
yeah.
we'll
No,
see.
it's always good to do a bit of testing on those kind of things. But yeah, my Tumblr went together. Well,
Oh, that
that's one way to describe how it went.
I'm
Um,
surprised how fast you put that together.
yeah, it's an afternoon's project. Yeah, it's been in the works for a while. It's been a lot of planning, but yeah, some moron designed it and overlooked a whole bunch. Like that is very much a V1 of the tub, but it is together enough that it works. We sprayed all the welds silver so you can't see them because
Nice.
it was meant to be tigged, but then the bending of the tub didn't go well, so we ended up migging it.
Ugh.
Uh, to describe it as hot shit would be a compliment, but it's
Hmm.
together. and
Yeah.
it showed me a whole bunch of stuff I needed to know. It works. It works flipping amazingly on big parts. Like, throw a machine part in there, 10 minutes later it's tumbled. Like, it's
That's
insane.
nuts.
I'm running it
Yeah.
at 30 hertz because if I go to 50 hertz, it starts throwing things out of it. It's insane. The motor's a little oversized. I mean, I did get a good deal on it. That's why it's the size it is. It's just a bit noisy.
Well, I saw your
Yeah,
Instagram story on it, and
yeah.
then I'm like, oh, there's no audio on the story. This tells me everything I need to know about this machine. It
It's
looked
not.
aggressive.
It's very aggressive. It's not that loud now that I've got the sprinkler system on it. It's a bit quieter,
Right. Yeah.
but it's annoying. I'm thinking of putting it in my little grinding shack outside because I
Mm.
don't use it every day. It doesn't actually need to be in the main workshop. The main thing is it's going to do what I need it to do, and it's going to do that well.
Yeah,
Like that.
that's
That is
key.
the main thing. I mean, even if I don't rebuild the tank, it'll be fine. I noticed the interesting thing this morning. So I went and bought a little tote for the water recirculating system, threw some soap into it, started running it, and the media goes the other way with the soapy water, with the foamy water, because now it's obviously
Okay.
generating foam. Goes
Yeah, yeah.
the opposite direction. Like, this is
Like
weird. Like,
water falls towards you or something, or
well, the media, instead of going, if you're standing in front of them, instead of it running towards you, it runs away from you. But it was
right,
running
weird.
towards me the day before, or yesterday, yeah.
Right. Okay.
So I'm like, okay, the foam's getting a bit insane here. Grab my defoamer for my coolant, put a few drops in,
Mhm.
literally watched it stop going in that direction and start going the other direction.
Oh, weird.
I think it's just the fact that the foam is sitting on the media and changing the coefficient of friction or something, and just causing it to go the opposite direction.
Yeah, just just bouncing the resonance like one cycle over, so then it
Yeah.
wants to flop the other way. Weird.
It was really weird. And then I threw some big parts in there today, threw some small parts in, let it just do its thing. It's gonna do the thing.
Nice. Yeah, it looks like it's a great great unit.
And I think the whole thing cost me like $500.
Yeah, that's
If I don't include time.
Somebody go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
That's if I don't include time. So, like, obviously I spent an afternoon welding the thing. I spent an afternoon designing it, but I needed to go weld stuff at my friend's place anyway, so we did this while I was there.
Yeah, exactly. There's easy ways to justify time. We don't have to talk about time on anything.
Yeah. So you were saying?
Actually, someone on Instagram, I'm sorry I forgot your name right now. He reached out and he had built his own like centrifugal tumbler.
Ooh.
And so he sent me some details on it and a link to his blog. Oh, actually, you know what? I don't know if we have show notes yet.
Pop it in the documents and I'll get Danica to add it in. Because I really want to look at that as well.
There's not a ton of details on it. I'll just put it right here so I don't forget. Tumblr link. Good enough. So yeah, there's not a ton of details on it, and I think it's a Czech site, but Google Translate works amazingly well. And it looks like he used a bucket and mostly printed parts, honestly. And yeah, he showed. There's a video of it operating, I think, on his YouTube channel as well. And yeah, I was like, wow, I've never seen anybody build a centrifugal tumbler, and it was very, very basic, and it looked like it worked really well. So I'm like, So
I have thought about it.
Yeah, I know.
I've considered it because I've still got my little tumbler, and that's going to still get used for the small parts because the small parts going in the big tumbler is just going to be a little bit violent and hard to get out. Because actually chatting to EJ from Nocturnal Welding, I was saying, no, you link your parts together with cable ties. That way you just pull a string of parts out. It's like, because he threw some small stuff in and it was a problem. Like I was chatting to Danica today about it. I was thinking, okay, do I 3D print plugs that I can push into the hole so the parts can't stick to the side of the tank because it's a smooth HDP wall, so they get water behind them and they stick. So I said, so no, I'm just going to buy long cable ties, and you just click it in a few clicks, and then when you take the parts off, you cut it right at the thing so you can reuse the cable tie 5 or 10 times. And then when you're done, you throw the cable tie away. They're not super expensive. And then I can also chain all the parts together, so getting them in and out is easier.
I don't know where it is, and I imagine you could 3D print them, but I've seen somebody that has these they're like really thick twist ties almost, and they're plastic and they just twist together, and they're meant for exactly this. You put it through your part and you're like the ends are kind of pre-formed, so they want to twist together. And they just give it enough support from just enough support from the walls so they don't stick, and then you can take them out and reuse them, a gang of times till they just basically get tumbled to death.
I think I actually know what to buy those. The only problem with those is I want the cable tie, whatever it is, to not cause a spot that isn't tumbled.
Right. Yeah.
That's the only thing I want to try avoid. As I was thinking, big loops of cable tie. The part can spin in the cable tie, and it's not going to leave me with spots that aren't tumbled. Not that it's super critical; they're going to get powder coated, but yeah.
Cable ties are cheap anyway, so
Exactly.
relatively.
Yeah,
especially if you can reuse them.
So I only use locally. Our good brand is Hellman Titan. I only use their stuff because anything else is just garbage. You pull it tight and it snaps. In this case, I will go to the China shop and I'll buy the cheapest cable ties I can because they're not holding anything. They are just going in a part and going in a tumbler. So I'm going to literally go buy the cheapest ones I can.
Nice.
Because, that's no point in wasting bucks on good cable ties.
Yeah, that's my main issue with tumbling is like I have these one part, the thumb stud for my pen, which is like, it looks like a rounded head bolt. It's got a big ball on the end. But it's
threaded?
It's threaded on one side. So what I normally do is I basically print a fixture so I can thread them into a fixture, but I want them tumbled all around. So I was like, so the fixture has to get really weird. So for the longest time, I just printed little kind of like covers that would cover the threads and just threw them in the tumbler and be like, okay, I threw 20 in here. I guess I'm just going to have like a searching game. And it's always like the parts are so dark after tumbling and my media is like brown. And then I pour it out into the sink to clean it all. And it's like, okay, I spend what I should do, which I got smart, is just take like fluorescent green heat shrink and just put heat shrink over the ends, or like use a print that's not black. Because I spend, it's like Where's Waldo? I just look in the sink for 20 of these microscopic parts amongst the exact same size media.
I lost a mag base in my little orange tumbler. I put 20 parts in, tumbled them, stood there, took them all out into a little colander. And I'm like, okay, cool. I don't see any more parts. I watched it go around a few times, stroked my hand, like trying to find the part. Nope, nothing there. Go wash the parts, laying them out after drying. They're like, hey, wait, there's only 19. Go back, shuffle through the tumbling media. Oh, there it is. Like, yeah. Tumblers are problematic when it comes to losing parts. Especially
it's the most time I spend is just finding the parts in the tumbler after the fact. Like, it's like, it's a first world problem, but still.
Have you seen Grimsmo's tumbling jigs for their pivots?
Yeah,
it's posted a while ago, before and after.
Yeah,
it's insane how much material's been removed over the years on those fixtures. But I mean, you are throwing it in with rocks and shoving rocks against it. Like, especially there, they're using ceramics. Like, I'm still using plastic media because I mostly do aluminium.
Same thing. I only roll with ceramic because it's titanium. So I see here you have... Oh, go ahead.
I've got a bunch of things. Yeah, so this week, rake threads.
What is this?
So, a plastic rake for raking your leaves in your yard?
Yes.
Yeah, they screw onto a wooden thread on the sticks. It's one of the options.
Okay. Yeah,
so they thread the end of the wooden dowel and it screws in. And my customer who's repairing this mold is like, hey, we need to put a taper on this pin and then thread it, but it needs to be like a buttress thread, but we don't have a drawing. Here's a sample of the right one. That's mushed. And here's a sample of one that isn't right. Make it. So I spent 2 or 3 hours figuring their stories out, put it in the lathe, forge or chuck, clocked everything up, turned it, and then I just used a DCMT insert. Turned it, and then just loaded another tool offset so I could adjust my thread diameter, and then but now it's tapered thread, which was quite cool to watch. So
that's neat, yeah.
Cutting a tapered thread with effectively a buttress angle because you got the diamond insert sitting in it was a right hand holder. It's just like a normal right hand holder, and then did the threads, and then ended up polishing them because there was a little bit of run out in there in the shaft.
Oh,
but
okay.
Like stupid job. I actually need to invoice him. I haven't invoiced him yet. I must remember to do that tomorrow morning. But like silly little job, but something interesting. I haven't done tapered threads before.
Yeah, that'd be pretty coarse, probably.
4mm pitch.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was in K110 tool steel as well.
Oh, okay. So not something fun and easy, just something.
Yeah, K110's not that bad. I've got my feeds and speeds dialed for it in Bertha, but that is not even the highest pitch thing I've threaded in Bertha.
Oh, really?
I made a new worm gear for the MCO because my MCO didn't come with the worm gear to drive the tool changer. So I 3D printed one, messed with the pitch, came to a 7 pitch. So that was threaded with a DCMT neutral insert and just threaded. It worked, 55-degree thread, and that's been running for years in the MCO. It actually has no signs of wear last time I had it apart.
Nice.
Yeah, it's meant to be a hardened tool steel gear. I'm like, wow. Rather have it wear out and fail than break the part that I can't afford to replace.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I threaded a 7-pitch. I think I had to drop my RPM down to like 250 or something, or 300, because I didn't have enough speed in the Z-axis.
That's what my next question was. Me, I'm like, did you just do it like a boss at 3,000 RPM and just have that thing flying at 4,000 inches per minute or whatever the math works out to?
I think it only rapids at 4 meters a minute or something. So you've got to be cognizant of these things. So like I did 500 RPM for this threading I did, because then I'm doing 2,000 feet, which is okay. You've got a bit of headroom. You're not right up against the hard limit.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah. But no, the lathe. And then I made stupid bolts also in my list of things I did this week. That's what I had to go and actually weld.
Oh, yeah.
So it's 22 millimeter BMS that gets threaded with a 1.5 pitch thread on the end to match a Tartar bucky. It's the toe hook. It's a bolt that goes into where the screw and toe hook goes on the front, and the guys attach a flagpole for on the mines.
Okay.
So I machine these 22 diameter blanks. Then I take a piece of 30 millimeter hex bar, bore a 22 mil hole in it, and part it off 10 millimeters long. And then they just go together. You weld them and then face the weld off, paint it black, and it goes out the door.
Oh, I see. Okay. That makes sense.
But the price is tripling now. I'm going to send them an email this week and say, hey, if you ever want these again, the price is now 3x what it was. Sorry for you. Because by the time I go and buy material, because now I've got to drive and go buy a piece of hex bar and do the work and drive to weld it, bring it back, set up again to face it, it's not worth what I'm charging.
Yeah.
Like, just not even remotely. And quite frankly, if they don't like it, I'll show them where the door is.
Yeah, well, it's probably a low cost enough part for them. They could just buy a gang from you and be like, here, we'll buy one batch from you of whatever, 100 or 1,000, whatever it works out for them, and just be like, we won't have to buy. Well,
they've been ordering 10 at a time. I think the last time they ordered was like a year ago. Okay, so it's not even like they're ordering a lot. So the price is going up. Yeah. It was one of those things that I wasn't super busy when I started doing it. Now my time actually means something, so price can go up. And if they don't like it, that's not my problem.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's how it works sometimes. It's
how it goes, yeah. No, I've got to go to site this week. Tuesday is going to be a total write-off. Like, I know I've got to wake up early, be in my car at 6 a.m. and on the road if I want to be there by 7:30 when they're open. And then I'm helping them set up a RBR sheeting machine, so bending roof sheeting. They're having some tracking issues they want me to have a look at. And then setting up the wire bender I built in 2020 that's been in storage for a year, and now they can't get it to run. So I've got to go and just see what the hell's going on there. I think it just needs some grease and then it'll work. So I've got to try and remember how to run it. And what I did, it's running Linux CNC actually.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Easy.
It's easy. The reason I did that is then you could tweak the operator could tweak the program. If it's feeding a different length or whatever, like it was easily adjustable. It wasn't built into a PLC and uneditable. Yeah. So and also it's what I knew at the time. But that means my whole Tuesday is going in the bin, and then hopefully I get back at a reasonable time, and then straight back to camera housings.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm curious, what is a paper slicer and how did it save the day?
So for the longest time, I print for all the packaging that I print. I thermal print these little labels. They basically say like the serial number, branding, stick them on the boxes, send them out the door. Forever, I have sized them because I can get special like thermal paper that goes in the printer where you can print on and they're actually to size. But to get the alignment right, it's always finicky and they never come out perfectly square. So then when you stick them on, all the text is kind of slightly slanted, and that frustrates me. So I looked at just getting them all printed, from a shop, print them all on the label, spool them off the label. At the time, I just couldn't justify the price because I'm like, well, they're literally free. Like my thermal printer costs nothing, and I'm like, I can spend an evening and chop them all up. So I always chopped them up with just like a utility knife and a ruler. And the other day, I'm like, you know what? I'm buying like a little paper shear. So I wanted to buy a nice big paper shear. I found an inexpensive one. It was like, I don't know, 20 or $30. It's just like a bypass shear. So like kind of one of
Yeah.
the guillotine kind of jobbies. I should have bought one of those forever ago. That is now my favorite tool. It's like it made this silly job that I shouldn't be doing in the first place, but it makes it so much faster. Like I chopped up that last order. I had cut 60 to like I had to cut like 180 little labels up at in varying sizes.
Yeah.
And just I put a podcast on one night after my little people were in bed, everyone was quiet. I just came out here and just listened to a podcast and chopped up labels, and it took me like an hour as opposed to just slowly grinding away my soul for
Yeah.
days on end to do it all. So yeah, just one of those dumb things where it's like, I wish I would have known this would be so much better.
Yeah, the quality of life, things like that make a huge difference.
Oh, and they hit extra hard when they're inexpensive. Like when you do a quality of life improvement and it costs thousands of dollars, and you're like, okay, well, I get why that helps. It's just like when you buy whatever, an automated timer for a light switch, and you're like, okay, this costs $6 and it's made my life infinitely better. It's like those are the ones you're like, oh, that was a good one.
Yeah. Now I went. So we were out today. I went to another shop because I'm trying to buy the same flippin' Tupperwares, and I can't.
Right.
So I ended up at another shop, found a different one, a little bit more expensive. I'm like, screw it. I'm buying 9 of them now. I'll go back next week and buy another 9 of them. That all my stuff can just go on the shelf in a Tupperware, label it, and be done with this. Because I'm procrastinating cleaning because I'm trying to get the same Tupperware. It's now been, I think, 2 weeks that I've been trying to buy the same Tupperware. And I keep going back like, no, they're on order. I'm like, that ship has sailed now, friends. That's the rack and stack boxes I use. No one has stock. I don't know if the company making them went out of business. I don't know what the story is, but I have 20 of them and I cannot get any more. Like if I could, I would have 100 of them in my workshop right now. But I just can't get them. I found one. I actually found one of those today at the shop. I'm like, why is there only one? Like, in what world would someone want only one of these? But yeah, I ended up getting some other fun Tupperwares to organize the workshop and kind of start getting myself towards myself for if we're going to make lots more pallet systems, just that I've got trays to put machined parts in that they're not going to get dinged or damaged before they're anodized and after they're anodized. Right, the last part has been made. I don't know if you saw my story. I forgot to tag you in it. Making the Curt special. There's a file called Curt special on my machine now.
Oh, bummer. Okay, I must have missed it. You should try to catch all your stories.
I forgot to tag you in it. But yeah, that's making the base for your system so that you can put it in your vices.
Oh, I appreciate it. I appreciate that, man.
You'll see why I said I'd do it, because it took 2 minutes. And the only reason it took so long is because I went around the perimeter twice. Like, it's really super quick to do. I had the machine set up from making the last thing I needed for finalizing the pallet systems, and that is the base alignment jig. So it's a block of aluminium that's got 2 hardened locating pin bushes and the pull stud. I slap the pallet system on there, and then I loosen the base, and there's a linear guide that I can put my indicator on and indicate the base to be true to the pins.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's now the machining's done. Tomorrow, or if I get around to tomorrow, I'll just take an angle grinder to the linear guide, chop it to length, and then I must print some things. I must actually look for them this evening. Oh, damn it, I've got TPU on the printer. I'll have to change filaments. But yeah, print things to go on the end of the block so that the end of the rail so the block can't shoot off the ends. Because if you don't do that, it inevitably does. So I'm just going to cut the rail long and just clamp things on the end, just find some prints for that. I'm pretty sure I saw one on Printables or GrabCAD recently. Then that is done. My new boxes arrived, finally. Because I think last time we spoke, I was designing packaging for the boxes I didn't like. Then I designed new packaging for different boxes. Asked my brother-in-law to please go pick them up for me because he was picking something else up for me just up the road because his boys go to school nearby the powder coater. And I don't know if I told you, I dropped stuff at the powder coater and I got a phone call that afternoon. Your stuff's ready for collection.
Yeah, you did say it was a super quick turnaround.
Nuts. Yeah, so I asked him on the Tuesday morning last week, I asked him to please pick up some boxes. He goes there, oh no, you can't buy those at the shop. You can only buy them online.
Okay.
Like, what the hell? So anyway, I then ordered them online, had them couriered to me for flipping $3. I'm like, screw that, I'll just have it delivered. Like, if I'd known it was
Right.
that cheap to courier, I would have couriered everything last week. So I've got the new boxes. I assembled one this morning. It looks more reasonable. It's going to be heavy, but it's a more reasonable size for shipping the pallet systems around.
Nice. And that's with all your like origami lasered
Yeah, which I haven't
cardboard
done yet
internals.
because I only got the boxes yesterday. So that'll be the next couple of days. I want to try get that sorted out.
Nice.
And then, that'll all fall together and be hopefully very pretty. And then,
Yeah, looks like it is.
I'm also going to be getting in touch with a freight forwarder for larger volumes. I was at one of my customers this week, which we're going to go into shortly because that's on my list there, the spinning lathe. And I was asking them, they make lampshades and they send stuff all over the world. So I was like, no, they're like, no, they'll just put me in touch with their freight forwarder. You can literally just buy a square meter or cube meter in a container. Takes 6 weeks to go from here to the US and then gets LTL to the distributor.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, that's a nice option.
Considerably cheaper. It just 8 weeks lead or 6 weeks lead time, which is a bit brutal, but that is what it is. Like, it's part of life. It's that or pay an exorbitant amount of money to have it shipped with DHL or FedEx or UPS or one of those. And that just gets silly very, very quickly. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But I've got I need to get those pallet systems out the door because we're running out of February at this point.
Yeah, we talked to a few people and they thought they looked at the thing. They're like that's slick. And they're like that price point is going to be
killer,
decent. Like no one's because a few guys I talked to, they're like, well, I was going to make my own. I was like, can you even come close for this price? They're like, well, no. It's like, well, okay, then do you want to make one? Make one if you want to, but if you want to use one, just why?
I want to list my pallets at $26.99. So blank
that's
pallets
nuts.
with a pull stud and an
that's
idiot
nuts.
screw. Yeah, do you know why I want to list it at that price?
Why is that?
The closest competitor's pull stud is $26.99.
Okay,
I know it's a bit savage, but like they're just their pull stud is $26.99.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't even think I could buy that. I mean, aluminum is kind of expensive here, but especially in small quantities, I don't even think I get the aluminum for that.
Well, I mean, I got material for 10 pallets in this week. It was 10 pallets. The material cost me X VAT was $50 for 10 pieces of material.
Wow!
So I add 15% on that.
Wow.
So materials.
That's inexpensive.
Cheap. And then it's all set up and it's a 5-minute run. So I just set up and ran. In under an hour, I had 10 pallets on the shelf.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
But that's also like our shop rates here are hilariously low.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like even I looked at, I uploaded one of the parts to, one of the simpler parts I uploaded to PCBWay just to see what China would charge for like a batch of 100 of them. Yeah, they don't even come close.
Oh, really?
They don't even come close to my pricing. Not even remotely. Like they're off by 30-40%.
Wow.
And that's before shipping it. Like, yeah. And that's paying myself at a better rate than I currently get paid to machine things. So I'm not machining it for free either. I'm like kind of ripping the ring a bit. But that's just, the joys of living in Africa. So I went to see a spinning lathe.
Yeah. Well, okay. Is that like metal? Sorry, like metal spinning, like
making lampshades.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or fancy colanders in this case. They're spinning parts for lampshades, but this machine runs in split bronze bushes. And they want to switch it to bearings. Because the bronze bushes have a bit of play in it, and it causes the material to jam up, and it's a problem. So I went and had a look. I've got to pull the spindle, take it to an ex-colleague, have him turn the spindle down because there's now a step because of the split bush, so you can have a stupid step in it. Turn the whole front of the spindle down to like 55 millimeters. But I've got to have a bearing that fits in a 78 millimeter OD with a 55 ID. So it's going to end up either having tiny balls or rollers. And then I said to them, it might actually be a better option to just build a whole new frame for your machine, still modify the spindle, but then put nice big angular contacts in it and have a whole frame fabricated. Reuse the tailstock, reuse the tool rest, reuse the spindle in the motor, but just build a new frame. Because we could take the existing frame to somebody, have them line bore it out, but it's going to break the bank. Like, we're better off just building a whole new frame out of flipping I-beams. It's a spinning lathe. There is no accuracy at all. So
Right. Yeah.
I've got to go there this week as well with my one mate. The guy helped me weld the tumbler so that we can go and have a look at this thing, and he can quote them on building an entirely new lathe for them, because it's going to be probably cheaper and quicker than doing anything else. Because their production's standing because their spinning lathe's not working. And that's what they use for making lampshades.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a really weird process.
Yeah. That's weird to depend on
with my chair.
one depend on one clapped out lathe for your production. But I mean, what's there to break on them? Like you said, they spin a piece of metal and you just form it over a.
So I initially quoted them on all their machinery for their new workshop like 2 years ago, and my plan for a spinning lathe was buy a big ass lathe, and you just roll the tool post towards the back of the lathe, and put a steady rest and go. There you go. Use a normal lathe.
Yeah,
but
totally.
They do some stuff that's like 2-3 feet in diameter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they do some big stuff in that thing. So yeah, it's an interesting process. Last time I was at that shop, it was all dirty and being used as a storeroom. And then the guys have renovated and made it into a really nice little shop. So I'll go, that's also this week, going to site. Yay! And it's in the arse end of Joburg. It's really annoying to get there. You've got to go through the middle of Joburg, and shithole is a compliment to that area. Yeah, literally, I drove up past a pile of burning garbage the last time I went there. Not even kidding, burning garbage on the side of the road. Not the best area. And then you go 5 roads up, and it's one of the more upmarket areas in Johannesburg.
Okay, so if you guys don't hear a podcast next week, you know.
Yes, because I went through Hillbrow.
Jamie's burnt on the side of the road.
Yeah, no, that place is not my favorite thing. And then I see you planning on putting new Easter eggs in your pens.
Yeah, I just now with the added tool changer where there's no real detriment if I take an operation from 5 tool changes to 14 tool changes, it doesn't really make all that big a difference. I think my chip to chip is 2 seconds, so it's whatever. So now I'm starting to do the stuff that I wanted to do forever. Is just dumb stuff like put engravings in places people will never see them. So that's what I'm putting a ton of focus on. It's just inside pockets and wherever I can put something that no one will see it until they take it apart. They'll be like, hey, that's cool. So that kind of stuff lights me up, especially when I get someone else's product and I open it up and I'm like, hey, you deliberately put effort to put this here knowing no one will see it except the odd person.
I considered doing that on the pallets, the sample ones that are going out. But then I actually don't want you guys opening them because you can't close them again. If you take it apart, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
So I did consider it.
Yeah, this is the part that most people will take off if they're into modding pens, or even if they're just geeks and they want to take it all apart.
See it,
yeah, they'll get into it. But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of fun to be able to start doing more of that. Just the fanciness for fanciness sake.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's sweet.
Try to figure out.
Actually, I got my hands on one of your pens when I was at IMTS. I was looking through the IMTS posts because I was looking for all the shirts I wore there, and I was like, "Hey, I got to play with one of your pens."
Oh, that's cool.
I think it was Titan Ring Designs one.
Oh yeah, he has. We had a little switcheroo there because I really liked his Quattro ring.
Yes,
and he really wanted one of those pens, so we had a little tradesy. So
yeah, no, I had a long chat. I must have spoken to him for 2 or 3 hours at the Toolpath booth.
Yeah, he's a cool dude. I talk with him on the regular on the Instagram and whatnot. Seems like a cool person.
Yeah, no, he's pretty sweet. That's the fun thing with IMTS, getting to meet all the people in person.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the main reason I want to go, is just put faces to all these digital people I interact with.
No, that's exactly why I went last time, and it was very much worth it.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
It was a lot of fun. It was so much fun. So many big machines.
So I see on yours, Euro Steel, no stock. What does this do to you?
This potentially ruins me. So it's the same stock I order every month. I sent an order this month, and they're like, no stock we'll have in 2 to 3 weeks. It's an extruded aluminium tube.
Mm.
And I'm like, cool. Send me the rest of the stuff. I'll do all the prep work, but I can't deliver it's only a $1,500 order, but I can't deliver it until I get that tube. The nice thing is I get the tube, I deliver the same day. Like as soon as there's stock, it'll be here and I can deliver the following day. I'm hoping like hell it's going to be this month still. I kind of expect the material to come in ahead of schedule, but yeah, that's a little bit infuriating. But it's also one of those things I don't want the material just sitting in my yard for 6 months again, because that's what happened last time. The guys did a nice big order. I was like, okay, cool. I'll hold stock of like 300 parts worth of material. And it just stood there for like 5 months. So I don't want to have garden decorations of aluminium tubing. But I think I might need to just suck it up and just order and have some on hand that if customer needs, I can at least deliver in the usual like 2-week time frame that we're holding to. But yeah, that was a little bit infuriating to discover that they can't deliver material. And it's not like it's the first time I've ordered it.
Well, and yeah, like I said, especially when you're used to a fairly short turnaround and then poof.
Normally it's like 2 days and it's here and then I send it back because it's the wrong size and then I get it the next day. So yeah, it's a bit tedious, but it is what it is. It's doing business, I guess. There's always going to be little hiccups.
I kind of had a similar experience. Obviously didn't really slow me down much, but if I order from McMaster, I usually get it next day. I think I talked about it on the last podcast. I order on Friday. Typically we'll get it like Monday, or if I order on a Wednesday, I'll get it on a Thursday. Like it's crazy how fast they ship.
Yeah.
However, for some strange reason, on this order, it took almost a week to get here. And I didn't need any of the parts. And normally McMaster, their customer service is bar none the best I've ever experienced, because I had this happen once in the past. They just, some bar stock didn't make it the next day and I needed it. And I reached out to them and they're like, no sweat. We've already overnighted you the same order. You'll see it like tomorrow morning. I was like, that's insane. Like, I'm not a big customer of them. And they just no questions, no nothing. It's just like, we got another one on the way. Like, don't worry about that first one. If you get it, great. You have double the amount. If not, no problem. So I was like, I didn't reach out to them because I know they'll do the same. And I'm like, no, I'm not pressed for it. But just turned out to be our local post. It's just probably still having hiccups from that strike. It showed up, which was nice.
That's nice. So our post is allegedly working, and now apparently they're going to shut down the post system or some cuck. I don't know. I don't listen to the news. My mother-in-law was telling me about it today. Her friends were saying, no, the postal service, they're shutting it down. I'm like, you cannot have a country without a postal service. It's not a thing. But yeah, I mean, I ordered 2 pneumatic cylinders, little gripper cylinders for my cunning plans I've got afoot. And they were here within a week and a half. They were sent with Mark or Mail or something, or Mail. And literally they were here within like a week and a half. I was astonished because the shipping wasn't expensive. From China.
Oh, wow.
It was silly. But that's how Shein and Temu and all those things are getting their stuff around so quickly. Like the China to South Africa couriers are really good. Like all these little couriers are really, really good. I'm waiting now. My PCBs arrived yesterday. And on Monday, I've got a FedEx order of motors for a lathe conversion I'm doing and for the automatic loader. And then I've got ball screws arriving hopefully towards the end of next week for the same 2 projects.
Oh, fun. All kinds of toys.
Yeah. I'm building a CNC lathe conversion that bolts onto the bed of the lathe. So you wind your carriage back, drop it on the bed of the lathe, bolt it down, and you have a CNC lathe.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. So the idea is it might get pushed to becoming a product. I'm not sure yet. But the idea is you can get into CNC lathing things for about $2,500.
Oh, nice.
That you're not decommissioning your current lathe. You're just bolting this thing on, and when you don't want it there, you unbolt it and you have a manual lathe again. Because I've got a customer who bought a secondhand Nakamura lathe, I think. But
Hmm.
it's flippin' ancient. Getting anything onto it is a schlep. And
Yeah.
he wanted to start doing production turning. And I don't know if he ever did. I meant to go there last week and then kind of forgot to go somewhere, did a U-turn, went there, and then didn't feel like driving back to his shop. So I then went home.
Hmm.
Because driving,
That's the funny thing is
is
there's
yeah,
like no like if people are getting into like machining, like you can find a million CNC machines from the dirt cheap like little CNC routers that you can get off, whatever kind of cheap sites there are nowadays, to like even decent like Tormach, for instance, right? A whole gang
yeah,
of CNC machines. But like lathes, there's like very few lathes. Like unless you're buying an old industrial lathe, it's
yeah.
slim pickings when it comes to CNC lathes.
No, especially small ones. Like when I found
Yeah,
the
yeah,
M
yeah.
car started vibrating, I was so excited because you don't
Yeah,
find those. Like, especially here, you don't find small machines
yeah.
because most of the industry services mining. So it's as big as you can get, and you put the big machine down so you can make the big part for the mine. So, like, when I
Yeah.
found that M car, I was ecstatic. And even Bertha, like, Bertha's not a small machine. I think, well, it can do 120 millimeters over the gang plate and like 400 if
Hmm.
you keep your tools off the front of the x-axis. So like it's not a
Hmm.
small machine. It's 2.5 tons of lathe.
Right.
Probably a bit lighter now because I've yeeted a whole bunch of stuff out of it. I mean, I recouped a quarter of the cost of the lathe just from the transformer I found in the bottom of it. I sold it on marketplace and recouped a quarter of what I paid for the lathe. And then I scrapped all the old stuff and recouped another quarter of it. So I ended up only paying like $500 for the lathe.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know it.
And yeah, like it's silly. Like retrofitting stuff when you've got time, you you can do amazing things.
Yeah.
Like that lathe, I think that whole lathe ended up costing me like $2,000.
Right. And like that's basically the only option if you want to get it. Like if you legitimately want a lathe that's not just, I mean, even if you want to cobble something together, like
Yeah.
there's like I can go today and I can buy a $600 little CNC router and it'll probably be here tomorrow or the day after and I can start playing with like CNC
Yeah.
machining. But if I want to do that, like if I want to do a round part like a lathe, there's like I don't know, like the Tormach 8L is probably the cheapest lathe you can
There's a
buy, CNC lathe now.
Shearline lathe, actually.
Oh, I guess, but those are
Yeah.
I guess that's
But
what
that's
three
US
grand
kind
or
of
so,
only. I don't actually
and
know.
it's
I'm curious.
a tiny little like kind of watchmaker's lathe, but
I
it's just
know
weird how that
AJ had
never
one at one
never
stage.
took off. Hmm.
Shearline. I probably spelled it wrong. Sorry. I'm doing the Google on a
Google on a
podcast.
podcast.
Yep.
So if someone's
Everyone
listening,
loves it.
build someone out there, build a really cool like benchtop lathe. I'll buy one just
Uh,
for the goof of it, just to play
I'm
with it.
resisting the urge.
Just like a fun little toy one would be awesome. Like the Pocket NC. Build like a lathe, like a good little lathe, a little turret lathe of that size. That'd be amazing. That'd be so cool.
Would you like to take a guess on how much the chucker lathe is? There's two options. There's the
This through Shoreline,
option, yeah, the Shearline.
Shoreline
There's
Chucker full CNC.
so there's the full CNC, and then there's the one where you throw your own controller by the looks of it,
I
and your
say
own
I say full
motors.
full meal deal. I don't know, 3 grand
Nope. Keep going.
up.
Yep.
4.
Okay. For context, it is running a Masso controller.
Oh, okay, that bumps it up.
Yeah.
I don't know what do we want. 5 for it.
Seven.
7.
$7,181 to $7,578. The one without motors starts no. It's got the spindle motor, no axis motors. Starts at $2,800.
Yeah, no go, no go. I
Yeah,
almost bought one
new.
of the Tag. Tag makes a little ball screwed lathe, which is pretty cool. Just a
Okay.
gang lathe. I almost bought
Yeah.
one of those. They're like 3 grand for the CNC
Mm.
pack, or I think it's with the steppers. I think it's like 4 grand
Yeah.
turnkey. That seems reasonable, but 7 for a Shoreline.
Yeah. No, that's rough. So
Yeah,
this
that's
setup I'm
up there.
building is a alley plate, 1605 ball screws, 15 mil linear guides. The problem is it starts to stack up really quickly. It's 5 inches
Yeah,
tall already.
yeah.
But luckily, the first machine that it's going on has got like stupid high clearances. It was an old one of those lathes with the milling head on the top. So
Okay, yeah, yeah.
you can spin a 300 diameter part on
Oh,
this
okay.
toy lathe. It's hilarious. So the first one's going on there, and that, it's got 3 Newton meter steppers. It's going to be a beast. Like, you'll be able to do some actual work with it. And again,
That's cool.
this is actually the guy who wants to buy Bertha off of me when I'm ready to
Mm,
sell. So this is for him
mm.
to get his feet wet on how to program either with a quick change tool post or with a gang plate. So like
That's
I said to
cool.
him, I'm just going to pepper the top plate with holes, and he can make blocks and do what he wants with it. Like,
Right. Yeah.
and then ideally I'd like to make a couple more and offer it as a product. But the problem with that is you have to service said product.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
if there's one thing I learned from where I used to work, it's you can't sell 100 machines and have 2 service techs, because that's a problem. Some idiot does something dumb, and then all your service techs are tied up, and that
Mhm.
ends up going really badly for the company. So we'll see. I might pursue it. I might not. I might use this as an excuse to build a Swiss lathe. You never know.
I'm going to push you towards that because I just want to
Please
see how that
don't.
goes.
I'm
Just for
resisting the
nothing more than
urge. I've
my
been
own
resisting
personal.
the urge, like, so badly. Because look, the MCO does what it needs to do. Bertha does what it needs to do. Technically, I don't need another lathe. I want one, but technically, I don't need one. I found the spindle already. Spindle off of AliExpress. It's like, I think, $1,000 for the spindle. And then you don't need a giant motor on your spindle. Now, let's be realistic. If you're cutting PTFE and brass, a 1 kilowatt spindle is way more than what you need. I mean,
Mhm.
the MCO's now got a 1 kilowatt servo on it for the spindle, and it doesn't bog down. Even when I run stainless, it's fine. But again, the stainless is 16 diameter. It's not exactly giant.
Yeah.
Like, I think
Yeah.
people overdo it with their motor selections.
Yeah. No.
Like,
Absolutely.
everyone wanting 1,000,000 horsepower when
Yeah, I
in
know.
reality,
So
like,
many people even talk to me about, like, I was putting the phase converter in my garage. They're like, "Oh, why
yeah,
don't you go up to, like, whatever 30 horse?" I'm like, "How? Like, power in, power out? Like, you
yeah,
can't power that now." They're like, "Well, you could run this breaker too." I'm like, "You'll never pull more than this amount of horsepower. Like, you can't get around these silly laws of,
yeah,
P equals IV. Like, you have limited amps. You can't go
yeah.
more than I have 100 amp service here. Like, I can't pull more than 100
Well,
amps. I mean,
I've
I
got a
could, but not long."
15. I've got a 15 kVA phase converter,
Mhm.
and I've got a 22 kilowatt service. So
Right.
can't really put a second one. Could
Yep.
probably
Exactly.
pull 20 kilowatts, but yeah, like, that's the thing. You have limits. My 3.7 kilowatt spindle on my machine, people go, it's only 3.7 kilowatts. I was rigid tapping M12. It does
Yeah.
the thing. Like,
Mhm.
you work within the bounds of the machine, and it's a BT30 machine. You don't need
Right.
15 horsepower on the fucking thing. You put 15
Yeah.
horsepower, everything else starts to become a problem. Your rigidity
Well,
goes out the window.
and it's like, do you want to push a machine that you own that hard because you're gonna hurt it? And, like,
Yeah,
B, are you running your machine 24 hours a day where it makes sense to, like, squeeze every ounce of horsepower out of the spindle? It's like,
yeah,
or are you running for, like, 4 hours a day and then spending a bunch of time, like, like, just people, like, I think, greatly overestimate the or underestimate the sheer amount of time that you have on machines. Just like, you
Well,
can run them all
monitor
night. You
the.
don't have to run
Yeah,
them that fast.
no, that's it. Like, if I look, I'm going to quickly open my Home Assistant. Come to the dark side, Curt.
I
Thing, can
will.
you
I
please
will. Don't
scroll?
push me. I'm already on the edge of the cliff. I'm excited to jump. So
So I'm just looking now at my stats. So LK stats today, I had 43% uptime.
right.
I
Yeah.
ran
So
I ran a warm up cycle, and I ran 2 parts, but they were both one offs. So there was adjust, back and forth, back and forth. Um, Recently, I haven't really done much above 50%, but then the other day I had 96% uptime
right. Yeah. You'll
running
have to stretch.
production.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. Like,
You'll have points where you'll have it, but, like,
yeah,
I don't know. Horsepower has never been a limit on any of my work. Like,
no,
I'm
like,
always the limit. Like, I'm always the limit.
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, sorry, says no shipping options to one location. Someone's trying to order a knife, and apparently there's no shipping options.
Hmm.
Which should not be the case, but my wife has been playing around in my um, in my Equid store, so it may be the case.
I see.
Sorry, I'm being uh, super wanting to deal with this right now when I probably shouldn't be.
I could probably find something to rant about to the
Yes, do the
people that
ranting.
are
Do it.
listening. Do the ranting. Oh, let's see. What can we rant about? We can rant about. Oh, I talked about Easter eggs. That was kind of fun. I actually did tease about doing a Canadian pen version for, once again, the one Canadian. My mom probably listening. So I don't think I'm going to do a full Canadian pen, but I have another product that I'm kind of toying with. So kind of going to tweak with that and see. I'd like to have a product where I can do more kind of just like goofy engraving. Like I wanted to do this like big, the isogrip pen I make has a ton of like fourth axis work on it. And I wanted to get crazy and do some weird art and do some like kind of funny quotes to the kind of nods towards the political situations nowadays. But I also don't want to do that on like a $300 product where it's going to be kind of funny right now, but it might not be funny in, X amount of time, just kind of one of those non-evergreen kind of things. So I'm working on some other little products that will be a little bit less expensive. It's still intricate enough to keep my interest. The last thing I want to do is build, like, this is not throwing any shade, but I don't want to build a pry bar. Like I don't want to build a super basic item just because it doesn't excite my brain. Not because I don't think I could do something cool like that. I think there's some people that are doing really well at it. But it just doesn't please my brain for complexity. So I want to build little complicated little things. And hopefully if this pans out well, that I'll have a little bit of a canvas that I can play with, and then I can offer an item in the sub $100 range. The $50 to $100 range is kind of what I'm shooting for, where I can be a little more goofy with it and do silly things. And I don't know, that's kind of the thing that excites me more. People have always asked why I named my company Confounded Machine, and the whole point of this that I talked about, I might have talked about a little bit when we did the get to know Curt episode here, but it's because I wanted to build mechanical complexity is what I'll call them, like puzzles. Mechanical puzzles is really what I want to get into, and there are some companies building them. And I don't mean like the little rings that you have to try to take apart. That, once again, does not excite me. I want like sliding mechanisms and little dials that spin and internal features that click and move with different angles, and like just puzzles that are just so insane and just like they would look beautiful on your desk. But once again, like if bolt action titanium pens are niche, this is like 17 steps more niche, and it's not something that I'm going to be making in mass quantities. It's going to be like in handful quantities, like per year. Like they would be relatively expensive and just over the top complicated. Actually, you know what? I will put a link in the show notes to this one mechanical puzzle. I only know of one that was made, and Mr. Puzzle, he's a YouTube channel. He got his hands on it. Fantastically beautiful, beautifully machined, anodized, exactly what I want to do. But once you look at it, you'll understand why you probably wouldn't be making dozens of these a month. You might make a few per year, just because the complexity of it was off the chain. So
That sounds like a creative outlet.
Oh, that would be pure candy for my brain. That's the whole reason I want to get these pens to a status where I can put, like, let's say I put even 75% of my time towards production and 25% of my time just towards these like little pursuits of madness.
Yeah.
That would please me greatly.
Indulging
so that's kind of my
the
main
creative
goal.
side.
Yeah. And then still building something. Like I love building things, even if like if I have something that just pays a bill so I can live, and then on the side building, like I get all my enjoyment out of building something and having it, sure, but like the physical act of building something is what really sets my brain on fire, which is kind of good. That, I mean, I'm sure you're kind of similar. Like this is a role that we like or that we excel in because we like it. Like I legitimately enjoy this. I think about it on my off time, which
is unhealthy, and yes, I do the same thing.
Yeah, it's unhealthy, but like, who's to tell me it's unhealthy? Like, you tell me
I'm
going to
going
your
to be
day
doing
job
it
for 8 hours a
tomorrow.
day. Yeah,
I'm
right.
going to be doing it at the bra tomorrow. Bra is not in the companion guide, but there is a companion guide for most of the other words I use on our website, thelonemachinists.com. Sorry, thought I'd just quickly plug that. But yeah, we're going to a barbecue, also known as a braai in South Africa, tomorrow. So I'm going to be meeting up with the draftsman there, my wife's friend's boyfriend, he's rather tolerable. So we're going to probably end up talking shop all day, but that's
Rather
fine.
tolerable.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
rather tolerable. No, actually, I like King Julian. He's delightful. His name's Julian, so he is now King Julian, the king of the lemurs.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, he's quite entertaining to talk to. He runs a CNC router where he is a draftsman. Somehow he's running a router. Sounds kind of familiar, but yeah,
Yeah.
he's a nice down to earth guy. So I'll actually enjoy spending time with him tomorrow because apparently working every day of the week is not allowed.
Yeah. No, it's once again, people that have unhealthy careers tell you that's unhealthy. So
Fair enough. Yeah, like you said, the shirt. I sold my soul to Lockheed Martin for X amount. Like,
right. Yeah. I know it's always someone who like works in a wire factory, measuring, counting spools of wire. It's like, you have to have work-life balance. It's like, please, you hate your job. What are you talking about?
Danica and I this evening, she showed me something and we got onto the topic of, she showed me a video of a guy indoor flying a model plane. So an indoor 3D plane flying around. I'm like, oh no, have you seen the big ones, the gases from Joe Knoll? So I showed her that. Then I was like, oh, have you seen heli? She's like, no. So I showed her 3D helis. She just sent a Twitter video, brothers, ex-helicopter pilots. She's like, I want to send them a video and say, why can't you do this in your helicopter? Because no, the 3D helis are absolutely insane. And Danick's like, do you not want to get back into flying? And I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth for it right now. Right now, I'm focusing on building the business to a point that it sustains us with 50 or 75% of my attention. And then the 25% can go elsewhere. Right now, like the robot combat stuff, that's Thursday before the tournament. I'll start working on my new robot because up until then, I don't have the bandwidth for it. There's always some other fire to be put out.
Sure, but like, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but I also imagine that you get enjoyment out of the work you do during the day. Like, it's not like you're mining coal and just like, I hate every second of this. I can't wait till I can fall into my hobby and work. Like we've made our hobbies our jobs, but we still, for the most part, enjoy it. So it's not like you don't need a creative outlet to keep from, walking off a bridge. Yeah.
No, that's the thing. Like, I became a machinist because I really enjoy it. I enjoy making stuff. Sometimes I don't, like when I've got to do tool and die work. But 99% of the time, I'm enjoying what I'm doing while I'm doing it. The hobbies, I don't need something to distract me from the fact that I go to an office every day and I sit there for 8 hours or 9 hours and then I get to drive home for an hour. I don't need a distraction from that. Like flying models, and that used to be a very large part of my life when I would go to work every day, do my work, and then need to switch off and do something different when I got home because I enjoyed what I did, but not to the same degree as I do now.
Absolutely. No, exactly. And I think that's like, I've talked to my wife about that. It's like when you drive the bus, it's different than when you're on the bus. Like even if you like a job you're working for, like if you have a boss, it's like, yeah, you might be able to work for the company and work within the company and get better at it. But like, you don't get to steer. Like you get to maybe make suggestions on where to go. But like when you're driving the bus yourself, work becomes a lot more fun because it's just like a big video game. It's like,
100%.
there's no limit to the high score. Like you can just do what you want, like whatever you want to do.
No, 100%. I mean, I got an order now that literally is going to pay me more than I would have been paid in 3 months working where I was working. Like, and that's just one of the orders this month. Like I've had months where I've made more in a month than I ever made in a year where I was working. Like,
it's such a cool feeling. Yeah,
it is. Like, I like that. So I'm the bus driver.
Yeah,
I'm the druggie from The Simpsons. The bus driver.
Along with that, though, there's also months where you will make $0. So you just have to,
you have to weather the lows. Downs. Yeah, no, that's it. It's ups and downs. If it's all ups, you are heading for a very big low.
Yeah,
because it can't be all ups. Like it's just not how it works. Or you're
slinging drugs. One of the two.
Yeah. So. Well, you either got VC backing or not. Because that shit blows my mind.
Yeah,
like the venture-backed stuff. But yeah, did you see this week? Toolpath and Chatter have now combined forces.
Two cool companies. Yeah.
Apparently, Chatter can link to our Siemens controllers. It's not officially supported, but it is supported. Justin keeps sending me things. I'm like, I have Home Assistant. Home Assistant doesn't cost me anything.
That's the thing. This is like a part. this where it rolls into like, this is something like I would enjoy setting up like on a Saturday when, like I'm hanging out with the family, maybe people are coloring. Like I would enjoy tinkering with this. This is a fun thing for me to like set these machines up. Like I don't need a service to do it for me. It's not part of my business that I rely on right now. So that's something I enjoy. But I think Chatter is a super cool company.
Oh no, 100%.
For people that need it. Yeah.
As CJ said, like I think it was CJ, he was standing in front of a Williman, so I'm assuming it was CJ. You're saying the first notification, Chatter pays for itself. The first notification every month, it pays for itself because it's a production run that stopped that was going to run all night. He gets a notification 9 o'clock at night, goes back to the shop, sorts it out, comes back home, and the machine runs all night. And that's where it makes perfect sense. Like for me, it's just more I want to see the stats for shits and giggles. Like I'm not going to get a promotion if I manage to do 98% uptime, and I'm not going to get fired if I only get 10% uptime. Mostly because my boss is a really nice guy.
Well, and data, like you're never going to know without the data. Like that's why I want it, because like
what's measured is managed.
Absolutely. Yep.
That's why 100%. I want to. That's why I had the new boards made so that I can tie in the MCO and Bertha, because they don't run every day. But when they run, I got the distinct feeling that when they are running, they're running at like 98% spindle uptime because they run bar. So you load bar, hit go, walk away, and come load a bar when it runs out. So I'm very, very curious. Like I want to add in notifications as well, that I can't always see the MCO's light. If I'm standing at the mill, I've got to look around the corner. And I've put a million things in the way of Bertha's light. So I can add notifications into Home Assistant that, hey, machine stopped. It can notify me that the machine has stopped and I can go and load a bar. It's not sitting for 20 minutes. I get a notification. I can go. I know I need to go and address the problem. So that's the plan with the new board. I mean, the new board got thrown together so quickly, it doesn't even have my logo on it.
Ooh,
doesn't have labeling, nothing. It's still got everything where the components placed there, like the R2 number and like all that shit. It's exactly where it placed it. I didn't optimize the board at all. I just sent it for fab. So the documentation, to call it lackluster, would be a compliment. If it's dumb and it works, it isn't dumb.
Precisely.
I did do a proper job of the Imperializer, though. That's labeled.
I looked at that.
Yeah.
I saw your silkscreen logo. I was like, ooh, that's a pretty PCB.
Yeah, no, I made it purple as well. It's not as vibrant as I was hoping, but that's fine. It's going in a case. It's also a lot smaller than the Imperializer that I have. So like this guy's rather large.
It's robust, yeah.
Yeah, the PCB, the keys are closer. The Arduino is on the underside of the board. So the screen is actually over it. So it's a hell of a lot more compact.
Nice.
So yeah,
for the listeners, that's like a monster-looking cell phone in your hand right now.
Hang on, I'll give you dimensions.
Ooh,
why
imperial or metric?
Which would you prefer?
The real unit, of course.
Who did this? Jeez. Okay, so it is 147 millimeters, which is 5.78 inches.
Perfect numbers.
74 millimeters, which is 2.913 inches.
There we go. Wonderful round
and about
numbers.
As thick as an old cell phone. So yeah, the new one will be probably a bit slimmer. Although,
now that the PCB is all purple, I'm gonna have to make a case with like a cutout in the back so that you can see the purpleness. Yeah,
well, yeah. So I've got voltage boosters and all sorts of fun stuff here, so I can actually make the thing wireless, so it doesn't have to be plugged in because it's designed to just be plugged into a USB cable. Like it doesn't need a battery. Like it's going on your desk. There's computers nearby. But I might just go overboard and put a USB charger on it and little charge controller and all the bits and pieces that I have from the robots. Just put that into the box because I can.
Nice. Well, before we derail deep down the electronics rabbit hole, because I know we both dig that. Should be we're near an hour and change. So
let's start wrapping it up.
Yeah.
So, what have you been Googling?
I beat you to it. Blast. Well, I don't think I'll take your topics this week. What have I even been Googling this week? You know what? You go ahead because I actually don't have a clue what I've been looking up.
Damn it, because I don't know what I've been looking up either.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I can jump on then.
No, that's fine. Let me quickly, because I leave all the tabs open on my phone.
Yeah, that's exactly what I just looked at.
Yeah. I've been Googling Flex Seal spray, and angle grinder wrenches because I lost my angle grinder wrench, so I couldn't get
Okay.
the disc off. So I ended up putting the angle grinder in a vise, wedging a piece of PTFE to lock the locking button up, and then putting a pin into one of the holes and murring it with a hammer till it came loose. Because normally I just tighten the disc by hand, and then I think this time the disc bit somewhere or something, and it locked, and I could not get it apart. So yeah, big hammer and a vise, and I managed to get that apart. And then Flex Seal
Nice.
because some idiot designed my tumbler, and I was like, oh, it'll be fine if there's a gap. Like water flows downhill. It doesn't flow downhill when it's flipping vibrating. It flows uphill. I learned this the very, very, very hard way. I put aluminium speed tape. That didn't work. Then I went and bought like $20 tin of like Flex Seal stuff, sprayed that on.
Yeah.
It's still flipping leaks.
Mm.
So there have been some major design revisions for version 2 when I get around to it. That not going to be stainless, just going to be mild steel. I'm going to have it all bent at the laser cutters, and then we'll weld this thing together and we will make it flipping watertight from the get-go.
Nice.
Yeah. But anyway, it worked pretty well.
That's good.
What's in your history?
So my history is a bunch of rather boring FedEx and shipping stuff, so we'll just gloss over that. Some of it was searching for this lovely mic stand, which I'm using now, which is quite nice.
I enjoyed watching you adjust yours up and down. It was quite entertaining.
It's so pretty. It's like there's so many little adjustments on it. For the longest time, people can't know this is not a video podcast yet.
Not yet.
But I just zip tied my microphone to a tripod for like the last forever. So this is quite nice. It gets out of my way. Just kind of one of those things where it's like we can record quickly because now it's all set up. So yeah.
Yeah, mine's actually on a 3D printed mount because the little G-clamp mount was such hot shit that it was opening when you tightened it. So I made a 3D print and screwed it to my table so that the boom is always attached and I just pull it in when I need it.
Same thing. I looked at them and I'm like, man, those are cheap. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to spend a little bit more because I know I'm just going to be frustrated with like a dirt cheap alternative.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did that. And then, I don't know. That's basically my world. Nothing horribly interesting. Bunch of Home Assistant stuff, but we've already droned on about that way too long.
Way too long. But yeah. Okay.
That's my world.
I'm going to rearrange this document quickly because I think we should do the calls to action next. So do you want to do that quickly?
Absolutely. So if you're interested in the wares I make, or if you want more details on that little tiny product I kind of rambled on about when Jamie had to correct his little website, hit up my site, confoundedmachine.com. On the contact page, I have a newsletter sign up. You can put your email in there. Anytime I'm doing something of interest, I send an email out. I don't send many. I'm not going to spam you. So yeah, if you want to join that list of cool people, you're welcome to. And I should have new product dropping in the next couple weeks if that's to your flavor. How about you, Jamie? How can people find out more about you?
So you can check out my website. It's jspeceng.com. We've got a page on there for the Framelock utility knife, which is a utility knife that I manufacture. And then we've also got a page on there for the Anchor Points, which is the pallet system that we are busy finalizing and going to be going to market with relatively soon. On the Anchor Point page, there is a form you can fill out that'll get you on a mailing list. There are options on there whether you want to hear everything or just when the product's ready to be released. So yeah, if you fill that out, we'll be in contact with you when we do finally go to market, aiming for the next short while. But yeah, making sure we're doing our due diligence and the product will be right when it actually releases.
Nice. Yeah, so that's the way to do it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Rather be thorough with it. So what are you up to today?
Well, first, we have to plug the last thing is you should go to thelonemachinist.com. We will also link that in the show notes because we'll do this like all fancy podcasts do. You can find a bunch of details about the show and whatnot. But the coolest part is the companion guide. I know Jamie's been talking about it, but there's little blue links you can click that open just a little page that automatically plays what he says. It's my favorite. I've gone through like all the things he says and just click them because it's fun to listen to. So yeah, if you find Jamie's South African accent and words funny, check it out. It's worth it for that alone.
Yeah, apparently my word selection is very unique.
Some of them are like some transfer, some do not.
Yeah, that's also having grown up on the South Coast. I've got a very Durban set of slang that I use, like vi, for instance. I'm gonna vi
right, yeah.
Like that is very, very South African Indian Durban kind of wording. So yeah, the companion guide's quite entertaining. It's helps give some context to the words that I tend to use quite regularly that it turns out not a lot of people understand.
And it's pretty. It looks well. It looks a
Yeah,
really cool site.
Danica did a number on that one.
Yeah, she did a really good job.
Yeah. But yeah,
Cool.
there is some other stuff coming down the pipeline, but we'll get into that as soon as we have confirmation of all of that. But yeah,
Yay.
so what are you going to be up to today?
Today is, what day is it even? Is it Saturday? It's Saturday, so I'm gonna hang out for the weekend, and same thing, hang out with my little humans. Probably not gonna get a ton of work done because I don't typically work on the weekends. And then Monday is Family Day here, which is another holiday, which is why we're recording a little bit earlier than normal. So once again, I will hang out with the little people and go to the park, and then get back into it on Tuesday. And it's just regular production, nothing crazy interesting. So, how about you? What's your week coming up looking like?
Week
Or
coming up
tomorrow?
Well, yeah, my next 27 minutes till tomorrow. Sorry, yeah, just fixing my chair. This week we've got 300 pounds of material that needs to go through the mill. I want to crank that out as fast as I can, but have to go visit customers on site, which throws a spanner in the works. So yeah, it's going to be probably either tomorrow night or Sunday night or Monday morning. I'm going to do all the material prep and then start op-oneing these parts. They're all programmed already, and just power through all of it because there's 3 of everything now. So it's going to take a little while to actually do. I think there's about about 9 or 10 hours on op ones on the big components, and then there's a lot more than that on the smaller components. So I'm going to be busy for a good few days just filling chip bins and filling my big chip bin. Yeah, I ended up getting $320-ish for scrap in the beginning of the year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, took in probably close on about 700 kilograms of shavings between brass, steel, aluminium. Yeah, the guy sent me the total finally.
Nice.
Yeah, so I actually want to go get the slip so I can see exactly what I got for what, because like some of the brass had been there for over a year. Like I just keep all the shavings. But
Nice.
yeah. Oh, sweet. I think we're going to end it there. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please give us a glowing review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, or like and subscribe on YouTube, and share it with your friends, please. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. Take care.